The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. Before developing this video, I had originally created a thumbnail and partial script for a video on Aljamain Sterling, more specifically, him being the Bantamweight GOAT. Here's the thumbnail. I had to pivot to a more current topic. So I present to you Suga Sean O'Malley, Surreality. Surreality is a French word. Translated back to English, it means beyond realism. That truly is one way to put it. Sean grew up in Montana and was interested in combat sports since he was a teenager. He has stated in multiple interviews that his fighting career was started as a way to get girls, be famous, and gain wealth. Vain, yes, but you can't call it ineffective. He would later move down to the MMA lab in Arizona with his friend and coach, Tim Welch. His only MMA fight in his city of residence will be a highlight reel-worthy wheel kick knockout. This would later become a staple of O'Malley's fights, a focus on flashy kicks and one-punch knockouts. The dynamic of Tim and Sean's relationship is untraditional, but Tim's expertise as a former fighter and great mind of the sport, combined with a camaraderie between the two, creates a unique and powerful relationship. Welch's part to play in the story of Sean O'Malley cannot be underestimated. O'Malley would get a one-punch KO in the first round of his fight on the Contender Series, and along with the reaction of Dana White and Snoop Dogg, would become a fighter to watch. His knockout has been part of all the Contender Series hype packages, and with good reason, as it has cemented the show as the way to welcome prospects into the UFC. The power of his unique look, his right hand, and his catchphrase punched his ticket to the big leagues. Suga Sean would win his first 2 fights in the UFC, but tore ligaments in his foot in the second. While out of action and recovering from his injury, O'Malley would test positive for PEDs. He was only given a 6-month suspension, though, as there was no signs of intentional use. Upon his return, Sean collected a Performance of the Night bonus on the last pay-per-view before COVID would shut down the UFC and the world. He would credit his 2 years off as a major factor in his development as a fighter. People talked about Sean's lack of real competition, so it was time for a step up. A former WEC champion, UFC title challenger, and mustache aficionado, Eddie Wineland. Sean O'Malley would add another viral first-round knockout to his resume, and after this, the UFC would strap a rocket to the back of O'Malley. He seemed almost unstoppable. Keyword being almost. Marlon Chito Vera was a win some, lose some kind of fighter. A tough and durable immigrant with a talk shit, get hit kind of mentality. This was the perfect foil for a new age, trash-talking stoner with rainbow hair. In the lead-up to the fight, Sean called Chito a journeyman and had dyed his hair the colors of the Ecuador flag. Sean saw this as simply building a fight. Chito took it a bit more personally. Early in the fight, a perfectly placed calf kick would hit O'Malley's perennial nerve and greatly limit his mobility. Eventually, he would be knocked down and TKO'd 4.5 minutes into the fight. This would be the premiere episode of The Cheeto Show. He would end up going on a run, only losing to the upper echelon of the division, scoring spectacular knockouts against UFC mainstays like Frankie Edgar and Dominic Cruz. Sean maintains that the kick was a fluke, and that it was caused by Vera's Ecuadorian big toe. Cheeto and Suga would stay rivals with a continuous war of words across social media. Following the Marlon Vera loss, Sean needed to regain his lost momentum. He would put together a string of 3 post-fight bonuses. A knockout of Thomas Almeida, in which Sean purposefully led his opponent up in order to achieve a highlight reel finish. A record-setting demolition of Chris Moutinho. And what Joe Rogan would call an A-plus performance against Holly and Paiva. For most of his career, Sugar Sean was accused of fighting cans, and his statements about fighting the easiest opponent for the most money didn't go over too well in the MMA community. So it was time for another big test, a 5'6" Brazilian leg kick machine-shaped test. Enter perennial contender Pedro Munoz. Going into the fight, Sean was labeled as having fragile legs, as shown by the nerve kick and the torn ligaments from earlier in his career, so a leg kick specialist would surely be a difficult matchup. The first round of the fight was pretty even, and on first watch, I had scored it for Munoz. Upon further inspection, though, most of his leg kicks were checked by O'Malley. Just over a minute into the second, Munoz was eye-poked, or at least, that's how it looked. Taking a second look at the footage showed that Munoz was holding the eye that hadn't been poked. The eye that he was holding had in fact been blasted by a cross just before the infraction. The fight was ruled a no contest, but Sean showed that he could hang with the top 15 of the division. A step in the right direction, but who would he fight next? Surely there was an abundance of ranked fighters to take on this young and hungry... At least it's a step up in competition. The masses believed that Sean would trip up the stairs, fighting a recent champion, and very few even gave him a chance of getting out of the first. But he did a little more than get past the first 5 minutes. He went all the way and he won. Exchanging missiles with Jan and proving that he belongs. Kinda. Sean's performance was again marred by controversy. A close decision, labeled a robbery by many. But what was about to happen next is the cherry on top. Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley was announced on May 16th and was to happen on UFC 292 in Boston. An Irish stronghold and a bit of a home court advantage for Sean. In the eyes of the fan base, the fight wasn't going to be competitive. The Jan fight was competitive, but O'Malley showed some weakness on the ground. Aljamain Sterling was out grappling Olympians, and you'd think a skinny white boy would be at work. At the press conference, Sterling repeatedly threatened to expose Sean and prove himself as the Bantamweight GOAT. Aljamain is almost as long and tall as Sean, which negates one of his main attributes. Aljamain was penciled in to win easily and move up to face Volk for double champ status. No one would predict the result come fight night. The fight starts before the fight. Now, I can't play Sean O'Malley's walkout, but the atmosphere and the meaning behind the song he chose made me, someone who predicted an Aljo domination, feel like Sean had a chance. The words resonate to the journey that Sean has taken, hearkening back to the beginning of the video where he entered martial arts to gain fame. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here, and the microphones, and they want to know. We all wanted to know if Sean O'Malley had the tools to become a champion, a household name, a superstar. The first round was one large feeling out process. Front kicks with a few jabs from Sean, and leg kicks and a takedown attempt into a clinch from Aljo. For this next section, I was lucky enough to be recording audio for the main event, so I have my live reaction to the second round. Here it is. Who's he waving his finger at? That's weird. Okay, we're on. 4:55. Oh, he slipped. Oh, no, he slipped. Takedown attempt against the fence. Not getting it yet. Overhooks. Presses the head away. Good balance. He's out. Lateral movement here. Front kick. Oh! Oh, he slapped him! Oh! Oh, he's not out yet. He's not out yet. Oh, he's trying to retain. He's getting pounded on right now. Oh my god. He's getting guard back. Oh, that's a big shot. Oh, he's turning. Oh, that's it. Sean O'Malley knocks out Aljamain Sterling. What a sport. Oh my god. A perfectly placed right hand while floating backwards puts Aljo to sleep. Finishes him off with some ground and pound, and that's all she wrote. Perfectly acceptable stoppage. The right hand has been compared to the one McGregor landed on Aldo, and rightfully so. People accused Sean of being a McGregor copy. The trash talk, the flashy striking, the Irish roots. But I think there's worse people to copy on your way to becoming a superstar. Expect him to be on the cover of the video game, and also expect edits of that knockout flooding your social media for years to come. A period of surreality. A moment in time beyond realism. A perfect story. A fighter who has been discredited and underestimated throughout his entire career, finally proving everyone wrong under the brightest lights, a UFC main event for a world championship. If you enjoyed this video and want more like it, I'd appreciate any support this mini doc gets. Be a superstar and have a good time.